Welcome back to Rumi Gold, where quiet mastery begins. What if the world's definition of wealth has kept you running in circles, but never arriving at peace? What if you could let go of the grind and still have more than enough? What if the truest abundance is found not in the noise, but in the depth of your own silence? What if your value was never in question, and wealth had always been waiting at your pace, not theirs? Today, we explore all this, not as a tactic, but as a truth. So take a breath, let your shoulders relax. Feel the chair beneath you, the air in your room, the pulse in your hands. Before we talk about numbers or strategies, I want to ask something simple but uncomfortable. Where, right now, do you feel the urge to hustle, to prove, to compete, to keep moving, just so nothing falls apart? Where is busy keeping you safe from the truth of what you feel underneath? And how many years have you traded away resting, hoping that someday exhaustion will lead to peace? There's a cost to the old way. The world tells you, if you want security, you must abandon quiet. If you want status, you must become louder. If you want to win, you must always be hungry. But that story never slows down. It's a treadmill with no off switch. You wake up, you answer the endless stream of messages before breakfast. You rush to fill another calendar. You reach for coffee to fill the hollow ache, hoping speed will cover emptiness. But the silence, the place you avoid, that's where life actually happens. I know, because I've watched men lose themselves in chase, and I've been there too. Let that land. I want to share something about Elias, someone who might feel familiar to you. He was proof that you can win on every surface. Bank account swollen, reputation sharp. But look beneath, see the truth behind the eyes. Every morning for Elias started in a blur. 5 alarms, none of them gentle. He'd roll over, one hand searching for the phone before his feet found the floor. At barely 6, his mind was already under siege. Red dots, notifications, urgent pings that set the tone for the whole day. By 8, Elias was standing in front of his closet, not even present enough to choose a shirt consciously. His hands moving on autopilot, pouring black coffee that never really cut through the static in his head. He thought of rest as weakness, so the cycle continued. Double shot espresso, checking numbers in traffic, relentless meetings, stacked without space for breath. There were days, sitting in his car outside the office, where Elias felt the edge of a panic he would not name, a tremble in the hands, stomach tight, eyes burned out, not from the light, but from the grind. The sensation that every dollar earned was also an hour lost in a room with no windows, skin buzzing from blue light and too much caffeine, heart racing as if late for a war he never chose. By nightfall, the fatigue hit like a body blow. The apartment was high above the street, big windows facing a city that always hummed. But the silence inside was sharp, not soothing. He would stand at the kitchen counter, staring into the middle distance, even when the phone stopped. Even then, his mind kept chasing. Never enough, could lose it all. Do more sleep, but never rest. This was supposed to be winning. You already feel it. One morning, after a near sleepless night and a phone argument with a partner who finally stopped believing his promises, Elias sat across from me. The way he held his mug, both hands clutched like something might spill if he didn't. It wasn't just tiredness. It was that raw, drained fear that his life was passing while he was too busy to know it. The thing about rock bottom, it rarely looks dramatic. it just looks quiet. A low hum of dread that you won't turn around in time. That's the discipline. I listened. I let the silence stretch. Then I made the simplest suggestion I've ever given. 15 minutes. No agenda. Every morning before a single business move, Elias was to sit in stillness. Not meditation, not journaling, not manifesting or optimizing. Just still. Letting the world come to him, not the other way. It sounded laughable, almost foolish, to a man addicted to momentum, but he agreed. First morning, he sat rigid on the couch, eyes open, waiting for the silence to give him answers. Nothing happened, except a tiny drop of relief. In that pause, he noticed the sound of his own breath, shallow but real. The angle of morning light on the wall. The rhythm of his heart slowing, fraction by fraction. It didn't change overnight. For weeks, his mind itched to check email, to get ahead. He fought boredom, then anxiety. Some days, he called me after, afraid he was wasting time, missing deals. We sat with that. But by the third month, something subtle had shifted. Elias wasn't running for solutions. His decisions started coming from clarity, not panic. Where he said yes to everything before, he started saying no, gently, finally, because he saw what mattered. His calls grew shorter, words fewer. Clients began to comment on his presence, not just his performance. Morning after morning, 15 minutes at a time. Elias reclaimed the quiet part of himself. This is the blueprint almost everybody inherited. Work longer, sleep less, prove you want it more than the next guy. Nobody questions the grind, not really. It's the air people breathe in business, in school, on social media. You see someone with bloodshot eyes bragging about how little they rest. And you're meant to feel envy, like you've missed something if you still carry some softness in your day. But let's break that fantasy brick by brick. People love to say, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." But in that statement is the whole story. What gets built when you treat your body, your mind, your spirit as tools to be burned out, not cared for? Where does real wealth go when you spend every ounce of it chasing something you can never quite touch? You already know this. Every morning starts earlier, every finish line keeps moving. A phone in your hand all night, the blue glow on your face. Until your face is numb, your spirit is somewhere else. Calls and emails come at midnight, and you answer, thinking that's what winners do. But the actual cost goes unseen by most. The quiet collapse of your joy. That slow leak of intimacy with your own life. Health becomes a background noise. Creativity shrinks into a thin line on your calendar. You hear about the energetic cost, but this isn't just about new age talk. This is about the quiet debt getting racked up in your nervous system, that flutter in your chest that won't leave. The sense that you're always a little late, always catching up, never quite at rest. There's nothing to prove. Somewhere along the way, we confused movement for momentum. We started believing that being busy is what makes us worthy. But a clock that never stops ticking eventually breaks. Imagine the gears grinding all day. No maintenance, no pause. Trying to outrun a feeling that who you are is never quite enough. The Buddha said craving is the root of suffering. In this era, craving hides in the badge of busyness. Working not just for money, but for the applause when people see you grind. It's just as much about what doesn't flow out. You build and build. But if every bit of what you earn leaks away into tension, distraction, resentment, you are left empty no matter how much comes in. The leak is real. Let that land. When you're always hustling, you're sending out a signal. It's the broadcast of scarcity. I need to fight to survive. Life is listening, always. It agrees with your message. You want the world to notice how hard you push, but the world just reflects back the struggle. That's why people burn out. They're stuck on the level of force, forgetting what the old texts, the Tao Te Ching, says. The sage does without doing, and yet nothing is left undone. Think about that. What would it mean to build your days from stillness instead of strain? The hardest truth: you can get rich by hustling. You can, but the bill comes. Health fades, peace vanishes, relationships drift. You become a stranger in your own home, even in your own skin. All for what? So someone else can recognize your effort. So this isn't about guilt. If you see yourself in this, don't blame yourself. Most people inherited this blueprint. The whole system runs on it. You didn't design it. You just woke up inside it. Just notice. This is an invitation. Name 2 places in your life right now where you confuse effort with effectiveness. Is it how you work, how you love, where you try to impress? Is there a place you push harder when clarity would do more? Just notice. Bring it to mind. Don't judge. Just watch. That's the discipline. Maybe it's how you stack your schedule, every slot jammed. Maybe it's inside conversations with people you care about. More words, less meaning. Maybe your own body has been asking for your ear, and you keep saying, not yet, not important. Effort is good, but effectiveness feels different. When you stop pouring energy into every crack, you realize how much could be built. By removing the leaks, clearing the pathway, building something solid, not frantic. Let that echo. You already know this. There's a way to live and work and grow, and ends with real, unshakable wealth. One breath at a time. What if the money you're chasing is already moving, waiting for a signal from you? What if your first hour is worth 100 strategies? What if every dollar echoes the frequency you wake up with? You don't have to force it. You just have to tune it. We spend a lifetime searching for levers, tactics, shortcuts to wealth. Most of us never ask, am I starting each day aligned? Or am I reacting to noise, shaping my hours around what everyone else needs? Most people, without realizing it, begin their days like a musician who grabs their instrument with cold hands and starts hammering the strings, desperate for the right melody, never tuning the guitar, never pausing to listen to the silence before the first note. That's what happens when you reach for your phone before you reach for your mind. It's like asking your instrumenter inner wealth to play someone else's music. That's how money sounds off, sharper, busier, never memorable. You put in the effort, but the tune keeps drifting. Something fundamental is missing. But what if tomorrow, before moving, you sat with your own silence? Imagine it's 6 a.m., pale light, the house is quiet. You put your feet on the floor and just breathe. You close your eyes, feel the world tuning itself inside you. This isn't theory. This is energetic alignment. The way a musician listens to each string, gently bringing it into harmony, is the way you listen to your nervous system, your patterns, your breath, until everything feels more cohesive than chaotic. You're not performing for anyone. There's nothing theatrical. It's just you. Your vibration sets the first note. that note lingers. Let that land. Money isn't silent, it's music. Every deal, every client, every piece of work you put into the world carries overtones. You can hire more, push harder, grind it out. But if your morning is flat or discordant, the money that comes back is too. That's the unseen feedback loop. Actions echo the alignment they started with. Think about an artist. Not just talent and canvas, but the silent 20 minutes, alone with coffee, visualizing the gallery bathed in sunlight, walls full of their work. Not a rehearsal, it's the tuning. Images become emotional notes. That little act seeing themselves complete, creative, in flow shifts the whole day downstream. Suddenly, emails hit differently. Connections warm up. Opportunities that felt out of reach soften. This isn't luck. This is magnetic resonance. The world picks up the signal, subtle but real. The doors open almost quietly. When that artist meets patrons, when money comes, it carries that energy. The transaction vibrates in harmony. People remember how it sounded to be near their work. Or an executive. Imagine her before the floodgates of messages. Instead of caffeine and chaos, she sits still, counting her breath, letting the future's noise fall away. She's tuning the strings within her. Each inhale, a micro-adjustment. Each exhale, a settling. Even 15 minutes here is everything. She isn't here to hustle the emails. She's here to listen for clarity before strategy. So when she does open her inbox, the first words are not rushed. The decisions land. Colleagues mirror her calm. Numbers move into place. Money flows, yes, but the resonance is different. It's not how many messages, it's the quality of the exchange. She has tuned herself. Every note she plays carries further, fewer missteps, better outcomes. That's the discipline. Think of a freelancer anxious to fill the calendar, tempted to chase leads. What would shift if instead, each morning, he journaled on just one line? Who am I being today? That's the instrument his self-asking for tuning, not tips. He writes in the quiet. Answers come not all at once, but as little truths. The energy beneath the workday changes. Clients sense it in responses. Pitches feel less like desperation, more like invitation. New contracts arrive not through cold outreach, but from the coherence of his signal. The money is different now. It's not just payment for effort. It's music returning to its source, familiar, welcoming, easy to hold. This isn't about motivation. You can do nothing on the surface and walk away richer by noon. Or you can do everything by the book and still feel bankrupt by dinner. The difference is energetic. The difference is intention in the first note. Let's sit with that. You already know this. Nobody tunes a grand piano by hammering every key at once. Precision comes from pause. Wealth is the same. Tune before you play. Morning alignment isn't luxury, it's livelihood. Most will skip this step, not because it's hard, but because it's almost too simple. But what you start in coherence, you finish in resonance. That's the discipline. When you start tuned, the money sings back. Have you ever noticed how every time you say yes to something misaligned, you feel thinner inside? Like a drop is leaking from your bucket. Like a small, invisible cost you can never really reclaim. What if your energy is wealth, and the real vault isn't your assets, but your ability to decide what you hold and what you do not? What if the world never tells you this? Because it benefits every time you forget. Listen closely. Boundaries are not brick walls against life. They are gates that decide what gets to come through. You already know this. Every monastery worth its salt has walls. Not to deny the world, but to give safe space for stillness to deepen. The walls keep chaos on the outside, so the inside can stay clean, not sterile, just untouched by what would destroy its frequency. Boundaries work like silent guardians. Maybe you feel it at work, the ping of another message, the pull of another obligation, the hint that you should do one more thing. And you notice, the more you entertain these small demands, the further your real life drifts away. Every crack leaks strength. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. There's a story I keep seeing in people who learn the rhythm of this. Take a coach I once knew. She was always the one clients went to for a deal or a favor. You could see the toll take root. Tired eyes, forced optimism, the silent clutch of resentment that comes after one too many discounts. The cost was never just lower income. It was energy spent on people who never respected her true worth. The day she closed the gate, no more discounts. The frequency shifted. Wealthier, more respectful clients arrived, like they'd just been waiting for her to raise the bar. She protected the stillness, and it paid back in silence and in cash. That's the discipline. Let's pause for a second. Even now, before today leans into you, picture yourself inside a stone-walled monastery. No one else is here. There's morning light, cold air, echoes that don't explain themselves. Before you enter the day, imagine moving through the halls and reaching the great wooden front gate, heavy, iron-banded. Place your hands on it. Feel the grain. Lock the gate gently, just enough that no noise from outside can break the peace you set for yourself. You stand there, breathing in, not hiding, but choosing what you let through. Every lock is a vow to your own frequency. Stay with that. Boundaries aren't cold, they are clarity, manifest. I've seen founders double their revenue without working longer or harder, just by blocking 2 mornings each week as sacred. No meetings, no calls. Those hours belonged to deep work, pure strategy, the kind of thinking everyone claims to want, but almost no one protects. The transformation never happened in a burst. It was silent. It was simple. He became the architect of his own momentum. The strategy worked because the boundary made time for it. No martyrdom, just design. Maybe you hear it now. Boundaries filter reality. They dainty just keep bad out. They make room for good to arrive and take root. When you stop tolerating the noise, you tune into a different kind of signal. People notice. Some leave, some draw closer, but the temperature shifts. What you allow, you amplify. Let that land. There's a kind of prosperity that only comes when you get out of every urgent meeting. Every small fire someone calls you to put out. I know an investor who finally ended all meetings about minor issues. No more jumping whenever someone else lost their cool. Suddenly, the noise faded and the real signals came through. High-level partnerships, the ones that shifted his net worth, emerged. There was more space, more presence, more return. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Life mirrors your inner architecture. Set the boundary, lock the gate, and what belongs to you will wait at the door. This isn't about being rigid. It isn't about hostility or withdrawal. This is about sovereignty. 2 different men can have the same resources, but the one who protects his energy will outlast and outbuild the rest. As Rumi said, Protect the quiet heart, even in the midst of the marketplace. The stillness grows in the middle of the noise, not outside it. Let's sit with that. Notice in the smallest rituals of your day, coffee poured before you speak, the phone flipped screen down, the first 5 minutes with nothing but breath. Gates built from choices, not defiance. Every time you honor this, you become less available and more powerful. The world tests weak gates. It respects the ones that close with care, not anger. You already know this. The only way to shape a life or a fortune is to shape the doors you open and the ones you let close and stay closed. Most of the discipline is invisible, but its return. What if the only thing separating you from wealth is the speed you expect it to arrive? What if every seed you planted already contained everything required for a forest if you'd let it grow instead of digging it up? What if the world taught you to harvest before it taught you to plant? And that's why everything feels unstable. And what if you could build not just a bank account, but a legacy by refusing to rush? Let that turn over inside you. There's an ache that comes with watching others move faster, cashing in quickly, flipping last month's ideas for next quarter's dopamine. But the man who's tasted enough quick wins knows speed costs. Impatience turns every season into winter. You can't force ripe figs in the snow. You can't fake the scent after the first spring rain. You can dabble, or you can root, never both at once. In the field, nothing true happens fast. Slow investing is the art of planting with no panic, laying seeds in cool earth, covering them gently, stepping back, because purpose isn't measured in likes or quarters or click-through rates. It's measured in what you're willing to cultivate in silence, with no one watching. I've seen an entrepreneur pour capital into a sustainable design brand. For 5 years, she watched it sprout barely. Friends called it stubborn, investors called it slow. But she kept tending, watering where it looked barren, weeding without complaint. And one day, quietly, that brand started bearing fruit. Not because she hustled harder, but because she trusted the growing season. Her meaning grew with her equity. She grew her profit by growing her patience hand. Her roots ran deep. Only she and the earth could have known it was coming. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Slow investing isn't about resisting progress. It's about choosing what endures. Imagine a mentor. He spends 2 years building a small, private platform. Not $1 in return. No monetization. Just quiet presence. Week after week, showing up, creating soil for trust. So when launch day comes, the harvest is immediate. His audience doesn't hesitate. They step in because they're rooted, too. Loyalty like that can't be bought. It can only be raised, one patient season at a time. You can feel the difference, the tension between the man flipping properties for quotas and the one walking the land, planting trees that'll outlive him. One harvests quick cash, one harvests legacy. In regenerative investing, you don't get the thrill of instant upside. You get years of waiting, of disappointment, of learning the land's true rhythm. But when the harvest finally arrives, it's clean. There's pride, there's a kind of prosperity your soul can stand on. The returns feed more than one generation. Let's sit with that. The pace of culture worships fireworks, not roots. Yet, everything real is built below the surface, out of sight. The richest soil is quiet. You prepare the ground for years, so the harvest comes, suddenly, and seems overnight to everyone but you. The Kabbalists call it vessel building. preparing yourself to hold more. In business, slow investing is vessel building. You're strengthening your hands, your patience, your emotional ceiling. With every patient hour, you expand your ability to hold not just money, but meaning. Nobody teaches you to enjoy the stillness between investment and return. Most are addicted to motion. Most call it being productive. But in truth, the richest season in the garden is often the silence before the shoot breaks ground, the place where nothing seems to happen. This is where wealth matures without your interference. Maybe this is what clarity sounds like. Slow investing demands the discipline to walk away from hype, to ignore the man shouting about urgent opportunity, to plant and then let nature make her pace. Every farmer knows the pain of late frost or stubborn soil, but every patient one trusts, next season is another chance. Each year richer, each lesson deeper. You become less reactive, more rooted. You stop chasing, start shaping. A man with long patience is hard to provoke. He's not rattled by drought or rumor. Slow investing is about being immune to panic, immovable. Like a stone in a field, it stays, season after season. That's the discipline. When you build your wealth at the pace of purpose, you begin to notice the subtler returns, the feeling of aligning money with your soul, so even waiting feels like work well spent, the quiet pride of building something you won't need to justify, not to anyone, not even yourself. Maybe, underneath it all, every wealth story is a garden. The impatient keep uprooting their lives to check for progress. The wise let things root. Let that land. You don't have to do it all to unlock a different life. Just one small thing, done with quiet discipline. So pause with me before you rush back into the noise. Let's let it land. The truth is, real abundance moves slowly, like water down a mountain, like heat soaking into stone. You might feel like you need to speed up to prove, or earn, or catch up. But what if your wealth is hiding in the one thing you keep overlooking? Alignment. Not the glitter of moving fast, but the deep thrum of moving right with yourself. There's nothing to prove. Maybe this morning you woke up and your mind went straight to chasing the unfinished list, the bills, the world's expectations. That's the script you're handed in, lest you choose otherwise. That's the discipline. One aligned morning resets more than 1,000 anxious hours, just 5 minutes, still and honest. That's how you retune your inner music. Close your eyes to the world. Arrange your day in silence. Trace the outline of who you are before the world touches you. You already know this. Boundaries, not as walls, but as filters. Imagine your space like a room with clean windows, sunlight in, storms out. You're not shutting out the world. You're letting in only what serves the clarity you built at dawn. When you say no calmly, without noise it rings like a bell. Your energy is wealth. Every clear boundary is money saved, time invested, peace preserved. You already do this in glimpses. Expand it, and your days will hold you, not drain you. Let that echo. The third key, SLOW, investing in what calls you. Not rushing to be everywhere, but placing your time, your skills, like seeds in good ground. You won't see it all grow by next week, but with patience, the quiet compound gains become obvious. You build a field of inner wealth, a harvest that can be burned up by one bad day, one market crash, or someone else's opinion. This isn't about motivation. This is about building stone by stone. The evidence for your new life is in the calm you feel, not the noise in your feed. Calm is proof. You can feel when something's misaligned, tight jaw, dry mouth, shallow breath. You can feel when your true shoulders lower, breath deep, mind unhurried. There's nothing to chase if you become the source. You've already learned that slowness isn't lack. Rushing isn't proof of arrival. Abundance arrives quietly, like sunrise over empty fields. If you do just one of these three things, today: morning alignment, honest boundaries, or slow investment in your real work, you'll notice money moves differently, time expands, and your bones rest easier at night. Not because you did more, but because you stopped living out of sync with yourself. Let's pause together just for a minute, a guided breath to seal this in the body. Feel your feet flat on the ground. Let your hands rest open. Breathe in slowly through the nose, deep into your belly. Hold for a moment, then let the breath go easy out the mouth. Again, in slowly, feeling the weight and the warmth in your hands. Hold that fullness at the top, then release, longer on the exhale. Do it again, slow, in quiet, out. Nothing to prove, nowhere to be. Last one inhale. Feel the spine rise, shoulders loose. Hold at the top. Then exhale, let everything soften. Sit in the quiet that follows. You already feel it now. These are not affirmations. These are internal vows. Speak them, but let them work you from the inside out. Each one twice. I move with purpose. I move with purpose. Peace protects my wealth. Peace protects my wealth. My boundaries are my freedom. My boundaries are my freedom. There is nothing to prove. There is nothing to prove. Clarity is my compass. Clarity is my compass. Slow growth is real power. Slow growth is real power. My presence creates abundance. My presence creates abundance. I receive what I am. I receive what I am. Again, I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity.